What if I told you that while your body is resting, your destiny could be under attack? Every night, as you close your eyes, you step into a realm where battles are fought silently, where distractions, fears, and unseen forces try to tamper with your purpose. Many people wake up feeling drained, confused, or strangely delayed in life, never realizing that something deeper could be working against them in the shadows of the night. Tonight, I'm exposing 5 powerful ways these hidden forces attempt to steal your destiny while you sleep, and more importantly, how awareness is your first line of defense. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might completely change how you see your nights and your future. Spiritual distractions through dreams are one of the most subtle yet powerful ways your focus can be pulled away from your purpose. Think about it. When your body is asleep, your mind is still active, still processing, still open. Dreams can feel incredibly real, emotional, even convincing, and that's exactly why they can become a channel for distraction. You might go to bed with clarity, vision, and determination, but wake up feeling confused, unsettled, or mentally scattered. It's not always random. Sometimes it feels like your mind has been taken on a journey you never chose, one that leaves you questioning yourself the next day. Have you ever had a dream that felt so intense, so emotional, that it lingered with you long after you woke up? Maybe it filled you with fear, anxiety, or even false hope. These kinds of dreams can shift your mood, drain your motivation, and distort your sense of direction. Instead of waking up focused, you wake up distracted, replaying scenes in your mind, trying to make sense of something that may not even deserve your attention. Over time, this becomes a pattern. Your mental energy gets consumed not by your goals, but by the residue of what you experienced in your sleep. The real danger lies in how these distractions influence your waking life. When your thoughts are clouded, your decisions become weaker, you hesitate more, you doubt more, you lose that sharpness that once drove you forward. It's like trying to walk a straight path while constantly being pulled sideways. Even small distractions, when repeated night after night, can slowly derail your progress. You may not even realize it's happening, but the consistency of your focus starts to break down. Another layer to this is how dreams can sometimes blur the line between reality and illusion. You might dream of success, connection, or breakthroughs that feel so real, they almost satisfy you emotionally. Then you wake up, and instead of feeling motivated to pursue those things, you feel a strange sense of emptiness or complacency. It's as if your mind experienced the reward without doing the work. That illusion can rob you of your drive. Why chase something with urgency when part of you feels like you've already tasted it? On the other hand, negative dreams can be just as disruptive. Nightmares or stressful dream scenarios can plant seeds of fear and insecurity. You might not consciously believe them, but emotionally they can linger. Fear has a way of slowing you down, of making you second-guess your steps. If your nights are filled with tension, your mornings won't feel peaceful. And when your mind starts the day already burdened, it becomes harder to operate at your full potential. What makes this even more challenging is how easy it is to dismiss dreams as meaningless. People often say, "It was just a dream," and move on. But the emotional impact doesn't always disappear that quickly. Your subconscious doesn't work on logic alone. It responds to feelings, impressions, and repeated patterns. If something keeps showing up in your dreams, especially if it distracts or disturbs you, it's worth paying attention to how it affects your mindset, not necessarily what it means literally. The key here isn't fear, it's awareness. Once you recognize that your mental space during sleep can influence your waking life, you become more intentional about protecting your focus. You start to notice patterns. You become more grounded in your purpose, less easily shaken by what your mind throws at you during the night. You don't give every dream power over your day. Instead, you take control of your thoughts the moment you wake up, choosing clarity over confusion. At the end of the day, your destiny is shaped by your consistency, your focus, and your decisions. If your nights are quietly stealing your attention, then your days will reflect that loss. But when you become aware of these distractions, you reclaim that power. You wake up with intention, not influence. And that shift, small as it may seem, can change everything. Let's be real for a moment. Waking up tired after a full night's sleep is something most people brush off, but it's deeper than just physical rest. There are times when you sleep for 7, 8, even 9 hours, yet you still wake up feeling heavy, unmotivated, and strangely drained. It's like your body was present in bed, but your energy was somewhere else. That feeling of being exhausted without explanation is what we're talking about when we say your energy is being drained while you sleep. Not in a mystical sense, but in a very real human way that affects your mind, your emotions, and your ability to show up fully in your life. Energy isn't just about how strong your body feels. It's your clarity, your motivation, your emotional balance, your drive to act. When that energy is low, everything feels harder. Small tasks feel overwhelming. Decisions take longer. You find yourself procrastinating, not because you're lazy, but because something inside you just doesn't feel switched on. And when this becomes a pattern, waking up day after day without that inner spark, it starts to chip away at your progress. You begin to fall behind, not because you lack potential, but because your energy isn't supporting your purpose. Now think about what happens during your day that might carry into your night. Stress, overthinking, unresolved emotions, constant exposure to negativity. These don't just disappear when you go to sleep. Your mind continues processing them in the background. So even though your body is resting, your mind is still working overtime. It's like leaving a machine running all night and expecting it to perform at full capacity the next morning. Eventually, it wears down. That's where the drain begins, not from something supernatural, but from the accumulation of mental and emotional weight you never gave yourself time to release. Another powerful factor is the quality of your sleep, not just the quantity. You can be in bed for hours but never truly reach deep restorative sleep. Maybe you're waking up frequently, tossing and turning, or having intense dreams that keep your mind active. When your sleep lacks depth, your body doesn't fully recharge. And when your body isn't recharged, your mind follows. That's why you can wake up feeling like you barely rested at all, even if the clock says otherwise. There's also the role of your environment. The space where you sleep matters more than people think. A cluttered, noisy, or uncomfortable environment can quietly disrupt your rest. Even your habits before bed, scrolling on your phone, consuming stressful content, or going to sleep with racing thoughts, can set the tone for how your mind behaves through the night. If you enter sleep in a state of tension, your rest won't be peaceful. And if your rest isn't peaceful, your energy won't be restored. What makes this kind of energy drain dangerous is how silent it is. There's no clear warning sign, no dramatic moment where everything stops. It's gradual. You just start feeling less like yourself, less focused, less driven, less alive, and because it happens slowly, you adapt to it without realizing how much you've lost. You begin to accept low energy as normal when in reality, it's a signal that something needs attention. But here's the turning point. Once you recognize this pattern, you can start taking control of it. You begin to treat your energy as something valuable, something that needs protection and care. You pay attention to how you end your day, how you prepare your mind for rest, how you create an environment that supports deep sleep. You start setting boundaries with your thoughts, choosing not to carry unnecessary stress into the night. And when you wake up, instead of immediately diving into distractions, you take a moment to center yourself, to reconnect with your purpose. Because the truth is, your destiny doesn't just depend on what you do during the day, it depends on how well you recharge at night. If your energy is constantly being drained, your progress will always feel like a struggle. But when your energy is protected, restored, and aligned, everything changes. You think clearer, you move faster, you act with confidence, and most importantly, you start showing up as the version of yourself that your goals actually require. Planting fear and confusion doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in quietly, often when your guard is down the most. During sleep, your mind is open, unfiltered, and deeply connected to your emotions. That's why what you experience in dreams can feel so real, so intense, and sometimes so unsettling. You might go to bed feeling clear and confident, but wake up with a strange sense of anxiety you can't explain. Your thoughts feel scattered, your confidence feels shaken, and the worst part is, you don't always know where it came from. Fear has a unique way of attaching itself to uncertainty. When your mind processes unclear or disturbing scenarios during sleep, it can leave behind emotional traces that carry into your waking life. You may not remember every detail of the dream, but the feeling stays with you. It lingers in the background, influencing how you see things, how you react, and how you make decisions. Suddenly, you're second-guessing choices you were once sure about. You hesitate where you used to move boldly. That quiet shift is where confusion begins to take root. Confusion is powerful because it slows everything down. It doesn't always stop you completely, but it makes every step feel heavier. Instead of moving forward with clarity, you find yourself overthinking, questioning, and doubting. You replay conversations in your head. You imagine worst-case scenarios. You start creating problems that may not even exist. And when your mind is filled with that kind of noise, it becomes difficult to hear your own direction. You lose connection with your inner sense of purpose. What makes this even more challenging is how convincing these feelings can be. Fear doesn't always show up as something obvious. Sometimes it disguises itself as caution, as logic, as being realistic. It whispers things like, "What if you fail? What if you're not ready? What if this isn't for you?" And because those thoughts feel reasonable, you start to believe them. You start to shrink your vision, not because you want to, but because something inside you feels uncertain. When fear and confusion settle into your mind, they begin to affect your behavior. You might delay opportunities. You might avoid taking risks. You might choose comfort over growth, not realizing that the decision is being influenced by something deeper than just preference. Over time, this creates a pattern. You stay in the same place, not because you lack ability, but because your mindset is clouded. Your actions no longer reflect your true potential. They reflect your doubts. Another layer to this is how fear can distort your perception of reality. It can make small challenges feel overwhelming. It can make temporary setbacks feel permanent. It can even make you question your own worth. And when your mind is operating from that place, it becomes harder to trust yourself. You look for external validation instead of relying on your own judgment. You wait for reassurance instead of moving with confidence. And that hesitation can cost you time, opportunities, and growth. But here's the truth. Fear and confusion only have power when they go unrecognized. The moment you become aware of them, you start to take that power back. You begin to question your thoughts instead of accepting them blindly. You ask yourself, is this real or is this just a feeling? You separate facts from emotions. And in doing so, you create space for clarity to return. Clarity doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you're grounded enough to move forward despite uncertainty. It means you trust your direction, even if the path isn't fully visible. And that kind of mindset is what breaks the cycle of fear. Instead of being controlled by what you feel, you start leading with what you know. You remember your goals. You reconnect with your purpose. You focus on what's in front of you, not what's imagined in your mind. Protecting your mental space, especially during vulnerable moments like sleep, becomes essential. It's not about controlling every thought. It's about being intentional with what you allow to influence you. When you wake up feeling off, you don't ignore it, but you also don't let it define your day. You reset, you realign, you choose to move with clarity, even if your emotions are still catching up. Because at the end of the day, your destiny is shaped by your decisions, not your fears. And when you refuse to let confusion take control, you step back into your power. You move forward with intention. And you remind yourself that no matter what tries to shake your mind, your direction is still yours to choose. Delaying your progress and opportunities rarely looks dramatic on the surface. It shows up in small, almost invisible ways that quietly push your life off track. You don't wake up one day and decide to fall behind. It happens gradually. You miss a chance here, postpone a decision there, hesitate when it's time to act. And over time, those moments add up. What could have been momentum turns into stagnation, and what could have been growth turns into waiting. It often begins with a subtle shift in your mindset. You might start feeling like now isn't the right time, or I'll do it tomorrow. At first, it sounds reasonable. Everyone delays things occasionally, but when that feeling becomes consistent, when hesitation becomes your default response, you begin to lose your edge. Opportunities don't wait forever. They pass by, and when they do, they don't always come back in the same form. The painful part is realizing later that you were closer than you thought, but something inside you kept holding you back. Delay has a way of disguising itself as comfort. You stay in familiar routines because they feel safe. You avoid taking risks because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. But growth has never lived in comfort. Every step forward requires a level of courage, a willingness to move even when things aren't perfectly clear. When delay takes over, that courage starts to fade. You begin choosing ease over expansion, not because you don't want more, but because something inside you feels resistant to change. There's also the mental weight that comes with constant delay. When you keep putting things off, they don't disappear, they pile up. tasks, goals, responsibilities, they all sit in the back of your mind, creating pressure. You think about them, worry about them, but still don't act on them. That cycle creates frustration. You start feeling stuck, like you're not moving anywhere despite wanting to. And that frustration can slowly turn into self-doubt. You begin to question your discipline, your ability, even your worth. Opportunities, on the other hand, require readiness, not perfection, not complete certainty, just readiness to act. When your mind is clouded or your energy is low, that readiness disappears. You might see an opportunity right in front of you, but instead of stepping into it, you hesitate, you overthink, you wait for the perfect moment. And while you're waiting, someone else takes that step, not because they were more talented, but because they were willing to move when the moment called for it. What makes delay even more dangerous is how it affects your confidence over time. Every time you hesitate, every time you choose not to act, you send a message to yourself, I'm not ready, or I can't do this. And the more you repeat that message, the more it becomes your belief. Confidence isn't just built by success, it's built by action. When action stops, confidence starts to fade. You begin to shrink your goals, lower your expectations, and settle for less than what you're capable of. But here's the turning point. Delay only has control when you accept it as normal. The moment you recognize the pattern, you can interrupt it. You don't need to fix everything at once. You just need to take one step, one decision, one action that moves you forward. Progress doesn't require perfection, it requires movement. And sometimes the smallest step is enough to break the cycle of waiting. You also begin to understand that timing is rarely perfect. If you wait until you feel completely ready, you might wait forever. Growth happens in motion. Clarity comes after you start, not before. When you shift your focus from when to now, everything changes. You stop overanalyzing and start doing. You stop waiting for permission and start trusting yourself. Protecting your progress means being intentional with your time, your energy, and your decisions. It means recognizing when hesitation is holding you back and choosing to move anyway. It means understanding that every day you delay is a day you could have been closer to your goal. And once you see that clearly, it becomes harder to justify staying still. Because your destiny isn't built on what you plan to do, it's built on what you actually do. And when you refuse to let delay control your actions, you step into a different level of discipline, focus, and purpose. You stop watching opportunities pass by, and you start creating them. You stop waiting for the right moment, and you become the reason the moment matters. Manipulating your thoughts and decisions is one of the most powerful ways your direction in life can be quietly influenced without you even realizing it. It doesn't come as a loud voice telling you what to do. It shows up as subtle shifts in your thinking, small changes in how you see yourself, your goals, and your possibilities. You might believe every thought in your mind is yours, fully under your control, but the truth is not every thought deserves your trust. Some thoughts are shaped by fear, past experiences, outside influences, or internal patterns you've never questioned. It often starts with a single thought, something small, almost harmless. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this won't work. Maybe I should just play it safe. On their own, these thoughts don't seem dangerous, but when they repeat, when they become familiar, they begin to shape your mindset. And once your mindset shifts, your decisions follow. You start choosing based on doubt instead of confidence, based on fear instead of purpose. That's how your path begins to change, not through one big moment, but through a series of small influenced decisions. Your mind is incredibly powerful, but it's also impressionable. It absorbs what you expose it to: conversations, content, environments, and even your own internal dialogue. If your mind is constantly fed negativity, limitation, or fear, it will eventually reflect that. And when those thoughts become your default, they start to guide your actions. You might turn down opportunities, avoid challenges, or settle for less, all because something in your thinking has been quietly shifted. One of the most dangerous aspects of manipulated thinking is how normal it can feel. You don't always notice the change. You just start feeling different, less motivated, less certain, less driven. You might tell yourself you've lost interest or that your goals don't matter as much anymore. But sometimes it's not that your purpose has changed, it's that your thinking has been influenced to pull you away from it. That's what makes it so powerful. It doesn't force you to stop, it convinces you to stop. Another layer to this is overthinking. When your thoughts are not grounded, your mind can start running in circles. You analyze every possibility, every outcome, every risk until you feel overwhelmed. And when you're overwhelmed, making decisions becomes harder. You delay, you avoid, you stay stuck. Overthinking creates the illusion of control, but in reality, it often leads to inaction, and inaction, over time, becomes missed opportunity. Your decisions are the building blocks of your destiny. Every choice you make, big or small, moves you in a direction. When your thinking is clear, your decisions align with your goals. But when your thinking is clouded, your decisions become inconsistent. You might start strong, then lose focus. You might commit, then pull back. That inconsistency creates instability in your progress. You're moving, but not in a straight line. You're putting in effort, but not always in the right direction. What makes this even more challenging is self-doubt. When your thoughts are influenced by doubt, you begin to question your abilities, your timing, even your worth. You compare yourself to others. You focus on your weaknesses instead of your strengths. And that internal dialogue shapes how you show up in the world. You might hold back in situations where you should step forward. You might stay silent when you have something valuable to say. Over time, that hesitation becomes part of your identity. But here's where everything shifts: awareness. The moment you start paying attention to your thoughts, you begin to separate what's true from what's just noise. You realize that not every thought needs to be followed. You can question it, challenge it, replace it. Instead of accepting, "I can't do this," you ask, "Why not?" Instead of assuming failure, you focus on possibility. That shift in thinking changes everything. You also start becoming more intentional about what you allow into your mind. You choose environments that support your growth. You engage with ideas that expand your thinking instead of limiting it. You build habits that strengthen your focus and clarity. And when negative or distracting thoughts appear, you don't let them take control. You acknowledge them, then move forward anyway. Because at the end of the day, your thoughts influence your decisions, and your decisions shape your life. When you take control of your thinking, you take control of your direction. You stop being pulled by every passing idea, and you start moving with purpose. You become more confident, more decisive, more aligned with what you truly want. And that's the difference between drifting and leading your own path. When your mind is clear, your actions are powerful. When your thoughts are grounded, your decisions are strong. And when you refuse to let anything quietly manipulate the way you think, you step into a level of control that puts your destiny firmly back in your hands.